Welcome to the Lockdown Sessions. Today's Lockdown Session is brought to you by the good guys at True Heel Heat podcast over in New York City. If you only listen to one podcast, listen to theirs. If you're really looking for a number two, listen to ours. But True Heel Heat, those are my guys. And today we are proud to have Ray Lyn with us. Ray Lyn, welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome to my house.
To the house.
Yeah.
I got the green screen. Otherwise, we'd be doing the same thing. And you are my very first early morning podcast, or not podcast, YouTube show, whatever we call this. So
I'm an early riser. I like to wake up, get my cardio done, and get my day going.
Good deal. Now you got my day going too. So
yeah.
thank you for that.
I'm like, hey, you want to do this at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. your time?
You know what, though? I did last night think that this was a 7 a.m. So I was kind of excited when I'm like, oh, it's 8.
Yeah, you got to sleep in an extra hour.
Yeah, I had to look at my phone, though, look at our emails and go, oh, wait, I got to make sure that I'm on time. So, but, you know, we come out of the United Kingdom, so I want to get everybody who hasn't gotten a chance to see you wrestle and stuff. I want to kind of go through the background. And how long have you been in the business?
So it will be 7 years next month. I'm not counting 2020 though, so I guess I'm staying at 6 years for another year because 2020 has kind of been a wash. I started off like hot out the gates. I had match after match after match. I had the big match at Warriors, the War of Attrition match with all like the top girls. So that was pretty awesome. I won the OVW women's title belt. I was winning belts everywhere I went, and then coronavirus. So we're counting 2020 as a wash right now.
Are you counting birthday this year or no?
I think I'm not counting my birthday either.
Perfect.
I'm going to stay the same age. My wrestling year isn't going to go any higher. Yeah.
Fantastic. And speaking of Warrior, I was at that that last card, that War of Attrition match. I'd never really seen anything, the concept. It was really cool.
No, it is really cool because he's like, oh, we're putting you in this match. And I Googled it, right? And I still didn't know what it was. So then I used the dictionary to figure out what these words meant. And I'm like, oh, maybe. Still don't really get it. I didn't get it until I was there, actually. But it's a really cool concept. I don't know who came up with that, but I like it.
Yeah, I don't know either. I pride myself on knowing a lot about wrestling, and I can admit when I don't know, but that one threw me for a loop. And they did the women's and the men's championship match. It was really cool.
Yeah, both matches were awesome. Actually, when you go to a Warrior show, every match on the card is awesome.
Unbelievable. So. If people haven't caught on to Warrior wrestling yet, it is such a mix of great up-and-coming talent and stars that have made it, and it's just such a good crossover. And for the fan, you're there seeing, hey, these are big guys I see on TV, big names, and now these people, I saw them, and great, hey, they're on TV now too. So it's
pretty awesome. I enjoyed it last time, and I'm really excited about this next match. I think I completely skipped your question on who I was.
No, that's all right. That's what it's all about.
I'm a little everywhere. So I started wrestling 6 years ago at OVW. My original trainer was Nick Dinsmore and Al Snow. And I stuck around there for about a year and a half. I moved home to Pittsburgh. I trained here at IWC. Then I moved to Detroit for a little bit. I trained with Truth Martini for about 4 months. Then I moved back to Pittsburgh. Then I moved out to Los Angeles, and I trained with Peter Avalon, the librarian from AEW.
Right.
And I also trained at AEW, or not AEW. God, why am I slipping? Because he's on AEW. And then I also trained at Santino's. So while I was out there, I got discovered by WoW, and I became the character Chantilly Cella on television. And then I moved back to Pittsburgh. So it's like I've kind of jumped a little bit everywhere. I've learned a little bit from everyone. I have a very diverse training background. I spent 3 months in Japan in 2000 and oh man, 2018. I spent 3 months in Japan. I've wrestled in China. So like I said, a very like diverse of who I've trained with and where I've been. So it's pretty cool. I was actually supposed to go to the UK April 1st for my first tour over there. Um, I had like 4 or 5 shows booked. I was there for 2 weeks, and then yeah, everything got shut down. They're like, you ain't traveling nowhere. I haven't left Pittsburgh in forever.
Do you have you been to the UK before to wrestle?
I haven't. It was going to be my first tour. Hopefully it'll happen again someday. I'm a big believer in what's meant to be will happen. So even though I was really disappointed at the time, it's okay. I'll get over there. I'm
It's
sure
such
of it.
it's such a wild world right now, and just when I think it's calming down, it gets crazy. But at the end of February, after that
Does
Warrior show, I was up in Toronto. I think it was a leap year this year, right? Because I think we had a 29th of February.
there was a leap year.
I was trying so desperately to get out of Toronto. I was there for business, and the news was going wild. And I'm like, this is like a movie. Are they going to shut it down? And I'm going to be stuck in Canada. Not that there's anything
God.
wrong with Canada, but
You want to
I'm
go home to your like home with
let's
your
go home.
things and your
Yeah,
stuff.
I
Yeah,
want my
I get
stuff.
it.
So
I there was Warriors, and I think I was so busy in February. Like I think I had like 13 matches in February, and I was jumping around from state to state. I think, yeah, I was just everywhere, state to state. I was wrestling all the time, so I didn't even realize anything was really going on. Like I heard people making cracks about if someone would sneeze, they'd be like, "Oh, coronavirus," because it
yeah,
was a joke at first. Everyone was joking about it, and I had just came back from China in December, and I was at work and I coughed, and someone goes, "Weren't you just in China?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Coronavirus." And I'm like, "What is this?" I didn't even know what was going on. Um, I was traveling. I was in every airport, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, just not even knowing anything about what was going on. I remember wrestling my last show at IWC in Pittsburgh, and they're like, "This is going to be the last one for a while." And I'm like, "Okay, this felt really heavy." And that's when it started getting real. And then I went back to work that next Tuesday. I was like, at least I have a job if I can't wrestle. I went to work on Tuesday, and they're like, "Yo, we're shutting down." I'm like, what is going on, right? So it was pretty wild.
absolutely wild. And you talk about being in and out of airports. I've taken several plane trips to Australia and New Zealand, and I'm kind of glad, not glad that we have this, but hopefully the cleaning is going to be better. There's nothing worse to me than I'm on an airplane and I'll be sitting and you can see the restroom in front of you, and I see people going in there with just socks on. I'm like,
Yeah.
at least go in there bare feet if you're going to be gross, but your socks are soaking up everything.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I sleep on my tray table because I'm kind of small. So it's like a desk in school. So I put my tray table down. And I hate whenever it's crusty I hate saying it's crusty from the person before you.
But
And I'm just like, oh, I always have those wipes, so I like clean it down because like I'm the kind of person that like I might do it then, but I'll think about it all day. I'll be like, I put my face on that dirty ass tray table, and then I'll
right.
think about it all day, like obsessively.
Well, luckily, I'm not small, but I usually get somebody in front. Like, I'll never lean my seat back because so many times I'm
Yeah,
watching a movie and somebody leans it back and I'm like, I'm thick. Now I'm like right there. I'm like, thank you,
yeah.
sir or ma'am. So,
I don't
um,
ever put my seat back either, mostly because I can't figure out how to. Like, you gotta really like, oh, and I can't do it. Like, I can't even get the recliners in my house
I can't figure out how to get the armrest up. Like when I'm sitting on the aisle,
to work.
how they like twist or something. And I'm always like,
Yeah.
my fat ass is trying to like jump over it. And people are like, I'm like, no, I'll get it. So apparently it's
The
pretty easy.
struggles.
Yeah. The guy
Uh,
next across the aisle goes, oh, it's just like this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then
Can you just do that for me? Quit making me look like an ass over here. Just can you do this for me?
crazy. So meanwhile, back in this pro wrestling show that we were supposed to be doing here, as I'm rambling on and on.
I
Um,
told you I'm gonna talk, and I just talk about random things.
I do too. That's a lot. I had Nikita Koloff on here. I don't think he ever wants to talk to me again. We went like an hour 20, and I was trying to be so cool with him just to be like, hey. But he would tell me a story, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I'm like the worst host of anything, because people are going to tune in to see Ray Lyn. They don't give a damn what I'm saying, yet I'm going, hey, you have a dumb story. Let me tell you my even dumber story. And I always hate when hosts do that, but then here I am. So 6 years. And when I did my big research online, because I'm such a journalist, not just that war of attrition match, but I forget the website I saw, but you have kind of wrestled a who's who of you've wrestled a lot of
I have, I guess. It's just I've wrestled a lot of people and I've wrestled for a lot of companies. It's just I'm like one of those people, I just keep flying under the radar. I don't know why. But yeah, I've wrestled a lot of the top names. I think one of my favorite matches I ever had, and only favorite because of who it was, like I was 2 years in and I wrestled Mickey James. And that was really cool. And then I wrestled on Raw. I always forget that I did that until someone brings it up. I'm like, oh, I guess I did do that. I don't know. It's just my carefree kind of, oh yeah, I did that. I've wrestled for Impact a few times. Tessa, Taya, most recently Kiera. I've wrestled on WoW. I've wrestled for Ring of Honor. I don't know. Who am I missing? What am I missing?
Great question. I saw a Nia Jax match.
That was WWE. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even remember when that was. It could have been 2 years ago. Could have been 3.
2017, I think it was. Only because I watched it last night, and
oh yeah,
like, oh,
that was the quickest money I've ever made.
that was. I have so many questions I want to ask, but not on the not on the, just with her, rumors of her not being safe. But I mean, you made that looked awesome. You made her look big.
And I'm still sitting here.
And you're still here.
I didn't die.
Did not die. So yeah. No, that was outstanding. And then wrestling for Impact, wrestling Taya and Tessa.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're both so I think they're both just like tremendous, incredible athletes. It's always a pleasure to work with them. They're so good. They're so on top of their game. Every time I get to get in the ring with, like, I feel like me and Taya had a little snippet at Impact, and then we worked together again at Warriors. And I just feel like me and her have a lot of chemistry, and I'd love to someday have a singles one-on-one go with Taya. I would think it would be fire.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, I keep thinking back to that attrition match and the amount of talent in that. Madison Rayne was in that match. Have you ever had a one-on-one?
I love Madison. That's the other one. I love her. I can't wait to fight her one-on-one. So I actually lost my OVW title belt to her right before everything happened, and I haven't gotten my rematch. But she's another one. Like, she's just incredible talent. She's good with character, like, and also she's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but she's like a good mentor as well. Like, if I have a question, she's someone that I would go to and be like, what should I do? So I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that she's actually a really nice person.
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, we can let the cat, because I got to meet her at Warrior, behind the scenes, and super nice, super chill. I'm just trying my best not to just kind of doing my thing, but it's really nice when you're in a locker room that you're not booked on a match, but I'm kind of passing through and people are like, hey, how you doing? Asking questions, having conversations where, I treat that as like, that's the sanctuary, whether I'm in a casino in Wisconsin, a high school, an armory, that's the respected area. I had to kind of go through there for what I was doing for wrestling travel, not on the show, and people were, when they're more than welcoming, that's a big deal. Usually it's kind of the look I would give people that come into our stinky locker room, like, who's this? What are they doing here?
Yeah.
But she was one that stood out, like, hey, how you doing? And Super nice.
Super nice.
Just behind the scenes, out in the ring though, different story.
Different story. Turns like that. Who else was in that match? Big Swole. I had a few matches with her. We both wrestle for cosplay wrestling. She's Storm and I'm Harley Quinn. So we had some Storm Harley Quinn matches. We also did some tag stuff with the all-female company Rise, tagged against each other. Kylie Rae, who I'm wrestling next weekend. We've actually never had a singles, but I was thinking about it. We had a tag match at Rise. We had a tag match somewhere else. And I think we were in the scramble. So we've never had a singles match. So I'm really excited for it because she's just like this ball of energy. And whenever someone has energy like that, I like to match it. And I just think it's going to be magical. I think it's going to be a good one. Brit Baker was in the match. Me and Brit Baker actually are both from Pittsburgh. So we trained a lot together. We've had a lot of matches together. I want to say Brit Baker's first like 20 matches were with me. And we were both really still green and learning. So we had a lot of learning together. We did a lot of learning together. Learning and growing. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'm really happy to see everything that's happening for all these girls. They're awesome to be around in the locker room, and it's just great to see them all getting their shot.
One of the things usually when I'm interviewing, some of the girls, I always say this. I had the Blossom twins on a few months ago.
I remember them from the beginning.
Oh, super sweet. Super awesome. And they were
at OVW when I got there.
Were they? Yes.
Yeah.
They're both, well, I think Lucy or Kelly, whichever one. I think it's Lucy. Has like 4 romance novels out now. And I think, the other one writes, I hate to say the other one because I don't know. One of them writes children's books, but they're the sweetest ladies.
They really are.
When they were in TNA Impact at the time, that mid-2000s, I said it was really refreshing to turn on the TV. And I'm not knocking things, but it used to be ladies wrestling was, here's some eye candy that are going to accompany somebody to the ring. And when you turned on TNA in the early mid-2000s,
that's where it was at for women's action. I always say that, like, TNA, I feel like, is the beginning of the women's revolution. Like, these girls were killing it. They were ahead of their time.
Wait, like I said, I would turn it on and be like, okay. Growing up watching wrestling, it's kind of ingrained that maybe some of these matches were like the bra and panties or this throwaway comedy match. And now I'm like, these girls are kicking ass. And dare I say it, you were looking forward to the women's stuff more than the guys at the time, which sounds really sexist to say in 2020. But if you take it back just only 15 years ago.
Not even that. I started, it'll be 7 years next month. And when I first started wrestling, it was still like we were just getting out of that bra and panties phase. Women's matches were like this is just 7 years ago. A lot has changed since then. And when I started, we were still kind of just like, I think people considered it the popcorn match. You know what I mean?
Right.
So things have changed, and it's really cool to watch.
I said, what was the NXT takeover right before Backlash? I watched whatever they were calling it, but the opener was a 6-woman tag match, and you and I both know, usually when there's a 6-person tag match to open an event, usually on the indie scene, it's like, all right, a couple extra people showed up, we're just gonna throw people in. That was a killer match, and the main was Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai.
Yeah.
So it was bookends of killer matches, and I was on a podcast the next week going, I can't believe a 6-person tag match was one of my favorite matches on the card. So it just says a lot about women kicking ass now.
And the landscape of what wrestling is now. So it's really cool. There's so many opportunities for everyone now, especially women. So I love it.
Yeah. Now, did I read this correctly? You started with some martial arts, kickboxing?
Yeah, my mom put me in karate when I was 4 years old. So I started when I was 4. I got my black belt around 16. And then I started kickboxing around then too. I didn't kickbox long. I caught mono and I dropped a lot of weight. So right before I was supposed to do like my big match, my big fight, I just dropped way too much weight and I couldn't make weight. I think I went from I was like 120 with muscle. I went down to like 95. And there was no way for me to gain that weight back. So I kind of just quit after that. Because I just couldn't, it was hard. It's really hard to put weight on like that whenever you're just like kind of a naturally small person.
I wouldn't know anything about that, but it's good to hear. What got you, I'll break my question into 2 parts.
Okay.
What got you into the world of pro wrestling?
So it starts with the martial arts background. I am the only girl in my family. I have all boy cousins, and then is there some weird feedback going on?
There was just a little bit of a delay, but usually when it records, you'll be good.
Okay. So I have all boy cousins, and I started in martial arts when I was 4. I was obsessed with like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. I just wanted to be a ninja. That's all I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was always wanting to fight the boy. I wanted to be equal with the boys. And my grandfather always was like, you're a girl, you can't do that. And it made me so mad. Like, why can't I do this? I'm the same as them. I don't understand why there's a difference. And it always bothered me. So I think that's always been like my thing, being out of the box a lot, because I've never really stuck to gender roles. Like I think I told you earlier, I'm also a barber. So I'm in like male dominated businesses and I love it. Like I wouldn't have it any other way, because I think that every girl should know that they can be whatever they want to be when they grow up. So back to the wrestling thing, I watched wrestling with my cousins growing up. I wasn't I liked it, but I wasn't like super into it, like where I had favorite people. Like I would just watch when they watched it. It wasn't Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles to me. So it was cool, but it wasn't like my super obsession. I would say I didn't watch it at all in high school, but I did watch it through like elementary and middle school. Around 21, I started bartending at a bar named Cheers. And these guys came in every Monday night and they're like, put on Raw. And I'm like, no, put on Raw. I'm like, no, we're not watching that. And I put it on and I'm watching it with them. And then I find myself like ignoring them, not getting them their drinks, because I got so in tune with watching wrestling. I'm like, this is really cool. Like, oh, I've been missing out on this for years. This is a lot of fun. I love the characters. I love the athleticism. And I remember thinking to myself, is like, well, I have a big personality. I could do this. I'm kind of athletic. I have that background. I was a little chunky at the time because I was drinking a little too much, needing too many cheeseburgers. But I'm like, I could get back into shape. So I'm going to say we watched it for like a year, and I would go to all the events. And I was like looking into wrestling. No one really took me seriously when I said I was going to be a wrestler. But 2013, my father passed away abruptly. It was really not expected at all. He was 50 years old, and I'm like, wow, like life is so short. And I really needed something to focus on, because it was a really dark time in my life. It was really hard because, like I said, we didn't expect it. It just came out of nowhere, and we're like, what's next? I could have went one route. I could have drank too much and partied with my friends, but I decided that wasn't going to work for me. So I started hitting the gym really hard. I looked into wrestling schools even more seriously then. I checked out schools in Pittsburgh. I checked out schools in like the Philadelphia area, and I checked out OVW. So after checking out like 5 schools, I decided that OVW was the choice for me. I found a roommate on Craigslist. I moved in. I moved down to OVW, and I started training in, I want to say it was April 1st. Yeah. So it's kind of a crazy story. I didn't stay with the Craigslist roommate very long because she was crazy. I ended up moving into a 1-bedroom apartment with like 5 smelly ass boys. I had to shower at the gym because they're just what 5 people in a 1-bedroom doesn't really work out. My story's been wild, and like I think back, I'm like, I wish I would have been like writing this down to remember some of the crazy things that have happened, and I don't remember everything now.
I'm the same way. I have some crazy stories that'll just pop into my head, and I'm like, I should write them down.
Yeah.
My younger sister always will say, her and her best friend, that, what is your life? Because it'll be like, hey, I just met so and so on. I was at SummerSlam, and I turned around, and Billy Corgan's sitting behind me. And I'm like, my sister who doesn't really follow wrestling, but I'm like, hey, here's Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. And they usually go, yeah, of course you met them. You know, of course you've got an IMDb page and all this stuff. And I'm like,
I've worked for his company at the very beginning of my wrestling career.
Really? He was such a cool dude.
He was really nice.
For the 5 minutes that I bothered him, all I did is turn around and go, I just want to shake your hand and say, I love what you're about to do with the NWA. Thanks for bringing it back. And he goes, I just remember watching, I want 2 big guys beating the heck out of each other. That's it.
Like, he loves wrestling. He loves it.
And I wanted, so much of me wanted to try to turn that into, hey, would you like to come on Wrestling Travel, like if I had a show or something? But the other part in you that's the pro just goes, dude, it was cool to talk wrestling for 5 minutes with a guy who probably everybody that shakes his hand wants to go, hey, tell me about the Siamese Dream album, or hey, can I get an autograph? And I was just like, dude, I just want to say thanks, and left him alone. That's so cool. If he's watching this, he should call me and go, hey, I want to be on. You're great. No, I love what he's doing and what they were doing. Unfortunately, they stopped. Now, but meanwhile, back at pro wrestling again, I ramble, you ramble. Welcome to the world's worst YouTube show right now for people that want to learn about wrestling. Is Warrior Wrestling on August 7th going to be your first match back since we've had the coronavirus, or have you had one since?
I have wrestled. It was outside in the middle of the day, like 100 degrees out. It was hard. It was definitely sweaty. I thought I might pass away. I was pretty sure I was going to. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. So I have a manager, and I made sure he had water at ringside. So I just roll out and like douse me in it. I made it through the match. It was fun. It felt great. It was so hot. So hot.
How long ago was that?
July 18th. I feel like I was supposed to wrestle again since then, but my next one got canceled. August is kind of busy for me tentatively. You don't know day to day. You don't know if you're actually going to do anything that you've been told you're going to do. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, hopefully. And this one will be outside, but you'll be under the stadium lights.
And it'll be at night.
Yeah.
Instead of during the day in a field. I don't know how backyarders do it. It's so damn hot out there.
I know.
I got a little bit more appreciation for them right now.
We trained one time. Somebody set up a ring in their backyard when we did the training facility. The usual independent story. Got kicked out of our training facility. So one of the guys set it up in the backyard, and I remember going there every day for like a week, and I'm like, oh, it was like 80, 90 degrees, and we're busting our butt working out. It was hot, but got the stop.
We work
whenever.
Out in a storage unit anyway, so it's really hot where we work out. But like, it's different than having a match, because when you're working out, you can take a water break. When you're having a match, you kind of just have to make it through it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're like 80, 90 degrees outside, and then you get in front of a quote unquote crowd of maybe a couple hundred people, and 2 minutes in, I'm going, can't breathe. I'm like, so I don't know if you get this, but I always get the nervousness before every match. Like, even if I'm going to a show, I'm like, hey, we got to get there because I got to pee like right now. I
Yeah.
feel like I got like the nervous, I don't know if it's a condition, but before any show, I'm like, we got to hurry up, so.
I
Um,
just have to pee like 100 times. I don't know
yeah,
what,
I
I
did too.
don't
That's what I
really
was going to
have
say. I didn't
to,
want to
but
start, but
I
I
just have to
will,
pee.
yeah, I will have to pee. I will pee. You'll be standing by the curtain and you'll be going, oh my God, I just peed 5 minutes ago. Now, in real life, this doesn't happen. I pee and then I can go till the next time. But the
Mhm.
wrestling world, I remember I met Jimmy Hart. And I'm like, I was just going to stand in line. He was at a show, and I'm like, I got to pee, and I'm just going to go shake Jimmy Hart's hand. So must be something wrong with me. What did you do? Last couple questions here. I'll be respectful of your time. What did you do during this coronavirus pandemic that we're still in? What did you do to stay sane, to work out, to keep tight with wrestling?
I already, like, I had this feeling after our one show got canceled. It was before everything got completely locked down. I went on the Facebook market and I bought a ton of weights and I ordered some stuff off Amazon, and I got it all before everything majorly locked down. So I had a whole weight set. I set that up. I worked out a lot. Like I said, I lost both of my jobs within a week. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm an independent on both, for both jobs. I'm independent. So I don't really pay into, uh, what is that called? Unemployment. I don't pay into it because I only pay my taxes at like the end of the year. So I was like, geez, what am I going to do? And I panicked, and I got a job at Amazon delivering packages. So I stayed in really good shape. Like, I see a lot of people have put on some pounds, and like I didn't, just because I think I was more busy during the pandemic actually working. Like, uh, I was always busy before, but it was usually like traveling and wrestling, and I worked like 2 or 3 days a week at the barbershop. Well, like suddenly the pandemic hit, and like I was just working and I was busy, and I'm really glad I had that, because I would have lost my mind if I didn't have anything to do. I'm a very anxious person. So sitting around, I would have lost my mind. I probably would have jumped off a mountain. I live on a mountain,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's why I say that. Pittsburgh has a lot of hills and mountains, so
Makes it okay. So my
yeah.
last question for you, um, biggest, most important question I'm going to ask you, for the fans out there watching, how can they follow you, support Ray Lyn? Do you have a merch store, your social
Do
medias? We'll try to blast them up there for you, but they'd probably rather
okay.
hear it from you.
So my Instagram is at Raystar5, RAYSTAR5. And on there is a link to my pro wrestling tees. And I just got Twitter back a couple of days ago because I wasn't Twittering. It was making me really sad. I get really sick of reading about the coronavirus because when I read about stuff like that, I'm just not a happy person.
Right.
So I just got Twitter back so I can start promoting my matches. You can follow me on there, and it's at Ray, RAY_LYN, and my pro wrestling tees is also linked on there. I don't do Facebook. I'm not really that into it. I don't really like social media. I just do it because it's a job. Instagram's a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
if you are all about that life of social media, like I would say follow my Instagram before anything.
No TikTok for you?
No, I wanted to TikTok during quarantine, and my boyfriend was just like, we're not doing that. No. I'm like, fine.
I joined it only because Wrestling Travel had it, and all I did was just take any pro wrestling clips that I had on my phone and set them to like Guns N' Roses, and I got a really cool clip of we sponsored Bound for Glory. So I
Okay.
don't know if you remember when AC Romero was on the ladder and Tessa flipped him out of the ring. I set that to some popular TikTok song, and now I'm at like, so never showing my face. I got like 13,500
Oh, wow.
followers, and
There you
one of
go.
one of one of mine's got like 800,000. I don't know how that translates into any dollars or anything, but I don't
Yeah,
even
I don't
feel
know.
cool because it's not
I don't
me.
really
But
know how it works.
I don't. But I want to, like I said, I want to be respectful of your time. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank
I
you.
hope I get down there to Chicago, and I cannot wait.
Hope to see you
For
there.
that entire match, the entire card is stacked. But Definitely looking forward
It's
to it.
going to be so much fun. If you're not in Chicago next Friday, you're missing out on something wonderful.
But if you're not in Chicago next Friday,
you can watch it on Fight TV.
Perfect. Look at us.
I win.
You won. All right, Ray Lyn, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.